Hi, everybody. My name is Lela.
And my name's Miraya.
And welcome to the very first episode of
Manic Pixie Dream Women.
For those of you who don't know, Manic Pixie Dream Girls are a type of stock character that only serve the male protagonist's story. So it's like the woman who's there to help him realize stuff without having any other dimension. But we decided to adopt it as our name and then change it because we're not girls anymore. We are women. We are women. So that's how we came up with the name. And we chose a film-related name because this is going to be a film-focused podcast.
Yes, indeed. So Lela and I are recent graduates of NYU Tisch in dramatic writing.
Yes.
And we are trying to be screenwriters. And I'm trying to also be an actor.
Yeah. The entertainment industry as a whole, we are just trying to crack into.
Trying to be multi-hyphenates here.
Yes.
We are the next Greta Gerwigs.
Sure.
I think a lot of college was designed to help prepare us for post-grad life and how to enter into the industry. But in reality, there's no real handbook for how to break into the industry. And it's a lot more bleaker than some of our professors made it seem.
There's not a set path. And the thing is that even if you were to ask any professor or anyone even really in the industry how to go about pursuing this as a career, there's a lot of ambiguity in it because a lot of their own journeys are based off of chance or luck or, some happenstance connection,
Yeah, for sure. And I think everyone hopes that they're going to be the lucky one who gets their big break early on in their career.
It's just going to magically happen.
Yeah, and that's not the reality for most people.
Yeah.
And I think Lela and I were kind of hit with that hard reality of, it's going to take us maybe a little bit longer than we thought to get where we want to be.
It's a lot of planting seeds. That we're hoping will grow as opposed to like a plant.
Yeah, and so I guess we thought it might be helpful to some people who are either going through what we're going through or who are about to graduate from college, who want to break into the industry, or for anyone who just is curious what the reality of breaking into the industry is. It would be nice to make a podcast all about that.
Yeah. For instance, my mother told me, I was like, oh, I'm so stressed. I just wish I could get an agent. And she was like, well, honey, why don't you just go get one?
Why don't you call Taylor up?
And I was like, well, I can't just hire one. She was like, oh, you can't? So there's a lot of people who just they don't have the, the right idea about how it works.
Yeah, 100%.
Or if you just love movies, because we're also going to be talking about movies.
Yeah, I think the thing that keeps us going is the reason why we want to be in the industry is because we love movies so much.
Yeah.
And so we thought it would be nice even for just us to every week get together and talk about our favorite movies.
Yeah.
And what inspires us.
So every episode we're going to talk about what's going on in our lives, regarding our paths, our career paths, and our thoughts on the industry, as well as one of our favorite movies that the other has not seen. And we're going to talk about them. So today we're going to be talking about two of our favorite movies. Miraya's favorite movie, which is
Singin' In the Rain.
And mine, which is Romeo and Juliet.
Yes, indeed.
And yeah, we're going to talk about them.
Yeah, because we thought maybe today we could talk about the movies that lit the fire within us.
Totally.
And kind of got the movie bug inside.
Yeah, the ones that made us want to be in the movie biz.
Yeah, exactly.
Or had that Steven Spielberg, The Fabelmans-esque moment for us. Have you seen The Fabelmans?
I have not.
Okay,
I've heard about it.
Okay, yeah. What's basically he discovers how much he loves cinema. This is our moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are The Fabelmans. We are Steven Spielberg.
We are.
So before we dive in, we thought maybe you'd like to get to know us a little bit better.
Get to know these two rapscallions on the couch.
Yes, indeed.
So, Miraya and I first met in 2019 in Florence, Italy, because we're jet setters.
Yes.
NYU abroad for a summer. And we both were there studying screenwriting courses.
Yes.
And we fell in love in a hot Italian summer.
Yes. We went to the Uffizi together.
We did do that.
We looked at ugly babies
We
and
went on a
paintings.
bus.
We did go on a
We
bus.
went to ropes course.
Layla is afraid
That's
of heights.
a story for another day.
That is. But anywho, and then we lived together for a year
live
during
together.
COVID times, deep in the COVID times.
Yeah.
And we've been besties ever since. So there you go.
Yeah. A modern day romance.
Yeah.
But also it's been great having someone, you know, who wants the same things you want, has the same passions you have, the same drive. So we kind of keep each other going.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, it's important to have friends and support when you're doing something like this.
And lifelong collaborators.
Yes.
I think that's probably the best thing that you can get from art or film school, as they say.
Yes.
We're making a hand heart for those who are
listening. Yeah.
I hate when podcasts
don't specify what they're doing.
Yeah, when they're like, this is a podcast, but they're filming it too, and then they just clearly do like tons of things that like are just for YouTube.
We'll be specifying, you guys.
Yeah.
We're making very intense direct eye contact.
It's very intimate.
Whoa, it's getting kind of steamy.
Yes, indeed.
But so since then, so I'm a year older than Mariah.
Yes,
so I graduated NYU in 2021, and you graduated
2022.
And so I have a year extra breakdown.
Layla was the one who warned me.
I did. I was like, girl, I'm in the trenches, baby.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't believe you. And now I'm like, I was a
yes,
fool.
Yes.
100%.
So you're like ahead of where I was, because like you're doing this now, when at my age this time last year I was not doing this.
That's not fair, because you've done a lot in your time post-grad.
I have a job that permits me to write a lot, so I have definitely taken the advantage of working on a lot of stuff since my graduation. So that's mostly what I'm up to now. That's my current life, is just writing. Have
you always been a screenwriter? How did you get into that?
Well, let me tell you. I've always been a big reader, always been a huge writer. I've always been massive. Anyway, so yeah, definitely a huge reader, loved movies, but always thought I wanted to be an author. And then I went to NYU originally for English, because I kind of was like on the fence. I was like, I guess I'll try English, I'll figure it out. Was there a year, and I was like, oh my God, I do not want to go to like AP. That's just college. I mean, normal. I didn't want to have to go to like American versus British comparative literature courses and like annotating heavy, dense work. There was no joy in that for me. So I figured out a way, and I transferred as soon as I could into Tisch, the dramatic arts school of NYU, and I made my way into screenwriting. And then but now I do a mixture of both. I, am working on books as well as scripts. What about you? What got you into the passion of filmmaking?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, Layla.
Please.
I grew up here in New York, and so I think that really just influenced me going to see tons of plays and movies as a kid. And so I was super into acting just my whole life. And I was also super into filmmaking, and I would make like stupid little films with my cousins all the time on our iPads. And I was always interested in writing. I also, like you, was interested in just like creative writing at first. I always knew I wanted to be an actor, and my parents were very much like, we will not let you professionally act until you're out of high school.
What supporters?
No, yeah. No, they just wanted me to have a normal life.
And thank God.
Thank God, but also like it would be nice to be like 10 years ahead of my career.
Imagine where you'd be now.
Yeah, 100%. But I'm sure, I don't know.
There's pros and cons.
Yeah. The grass is always greener on the other side, as they say. But then I got to NYU and I took a screenwriting class and I fell in love. And at NYU, you have the option of being a double major in dramatic writing and acting. And so that's what I decided to do.
Wow.
So I came in as an acting major and left as a writer actor. Anywho,
Stunning.
but right now, Lela and I are both receptionists.
Living the dream.
Truly living the dream.
I think what we need to talk about, though, is Singin' in the Rain.
I
Can
agree.
we get into it?
For sure.
I'm sure people are just like, come on, let's talk about Singin' in the Rain. It's so topical. Okay, so to be clear, so I had not seen Singin' in the Rain before 2 nights ago. I watched it 2 nights ago.
That's crazy.
I had never seen it. My family wasn't a big, like, we watched, like, modern releases. My family didn't have any, like, oh, I loved this movie growing up. I don't know why.
My family was the complete opposite, which is why I love Singing in the Rain. Like, we had a laser disc selection.
Whoa.
Like the giant discs that are laser. And we would basically go between, like, Singing in the Rain and The Sound of Music and maybe, like, a couple other little things here and there. But, like, Singing in the Rain was, like, the big one. And I don't really remember, like, what drew me in. I don't know.
When did you first watch it?
I don't even know. Like,
it was just like your parents probably like
constant.
sat you down and was just like, this is on TV now.
Yeah, like we would have movie nights very frequently, and I probably saw like Singing in the Rain like I can't even tell you how many times. Like
Okay.
so many times. And like parts of that movie are just like ingrained in me. Like
Yeah.
make them laugh. Like I think that I really fell in love with acting and just movies and the idea of Hollywood by watching Sing in the Rain.
Well, I get why. Like, if that
Yeah.
was like, if I'd watched that probably as a child, like, I can see why someone would want to do it. It's just like, okay, I loved it.
I'm so glad to hear that.
I really, really liked it. It's so colorful.
Yeah.
It's so full of joy.
Yeah.
And it was just so nice. Like, you know, and like obviously narratively it was intriguing and kept my interest and made sense, and it was clever and funny, but also like had a little, you know, classic Hollywood romance.
Yeah.
It was dashing and charming.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is due to Gene Kelly. I was watching it and I maybe made it, there's maybe 10 minutes and I was like, okay, he's fucking hot.
No,
he's so hot. And then I was like, why aren't we teaching like male actors like how to dance anymore? We need more dancing in films. Like, I need whatever was going on there, like that era, I guess, of Hollywood. I was like, why aren't we having this level of choreography?
Yeah. It's so joyful and it's so fun. And Gene Kelly, he choreographed it.
Choreographed?
Yes, I can't speak. And he obviously co-directed
He did,
it.
yeah.
Which is really cool. Talk about multi-hyphenates.
I know, triple hyphenate.
Yeah, but
Well,
it's
actually,
just
quadruple. He was saying too.
Yeah, and I just love also something that I wish that we could do more often in like mainstream movies nowadays is like having random dance sequences.
Yes,
for the
that make
fun
no
of
sense.
it, just for fun.
Oh my god, I had literally a comment about that. Are you talking about the scene with Sid Charisse?
Is that the dancing girl?
How do you not know that?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, it's the one where like she's wearing that big flowy dress.
Oh my god, I love that scene.
Okay, so I was watching it and I was like, this might be the most beautiful scene I've ever seen on cinema.
Yes.
And it serves absolutely no purpose in the story.
100%.
And one of the things they tell you when you're a screenwriter is like every scene has to serve, like every scene you're writing has to serve the story, has to serve the plot, has to move it along. And I've always fundamentally disagreed with that because I'm like, I don't think all beauty or art needs a justification.
Yeah.
So if I want to put a little scene in where it's just like fun, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think this was like a very great example of that because like it was purely just to like show off, I'm sure, on Gene Kelly's part of like, look at what I can do.
Yeah. And it's just
it
so
was gorgeous.
beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I just love like art for art's sake and just like doing things because it's beautiful and because it's fun and it makes you laugh and it makes you think about something and not because it serves the story necessarily.
Yeah.
So it definitely goes against what we're taught in school, for sure.
Yeah. I'm
For
looking
sure.
at my notes, trying to think about what.
Well, I mean, I think it's also just interesting. Like, so I've seen this movie.
I'm in love with Gene Kelly. One of my notes.
I've seen this movie so many times. I don't even know how many times. But there was a big gap probably between the ages of like 10 and I was 19. I watched it in Florence actually with one of our friends from the program, and I haven't seen it since then. And so it's very interesting to watch it now as an adult.
With like way more knowledge about screenwriting and directing.
And just like Hollywood and trying to make it, like kind of feeling like I am in the shoes of Debbie Reynolds' character.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, like, how that made you feel, like, as someone trying to break into the industry.
I truly categorize it completely differently because how people, like, made it in the 40s or, like, prior to, like, 2010, probably. It was very, like, and everyone you talk to from that era is like, oh, like, I just walked on down into his office and he gave me the leading role.
Yeah.
It's very, like, unbelievable in this day and age of, like, well, that would never happen now.
Yeah, well, it's actually interesting. So I did do a little bit of research.
Oh.
And I don't think it's as different as we maybe think. I mean, it's definitely different in terms of just, like, the studio system of Hollywood at that time, which I did more research on, which I just find fascinating. Of, like, there were, like, 8, maybe I'm misquoting that, but, like, 8 major studios, and then they just had contracts with actors.
Yeah.
Which does happen still to this day. Like, for example, Addison Rae has, like, an overall deal with, like, Netflix and will be in, like, 5 Netflix films or something. But, like, it's not as common.
No.
That's more just common for, like, writers and directors nowadays. But yeah, so basically, Gene Kelly, he was originally a dance teacher. He's from Pittsburgh, I believe. And he decided he wanted to be a dancer, so he moved to New York and then, like, completely flopped. So he moved back to Pittsburgh.
Whoa.
And started Why can't I speak? Did I say that right?
Choreographing.
Bro. He started choreographing local productions in Pittsburgh until he got to the place where he started doing that on Broadway somehow. And then there was some actress producer who saw him and was like, I want you in my Broadway show.
Well, he's also, like, just hot.
Yeah. And super talented.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, wait. Can we briefly talk about, so you know how they're making a biopic about him?
I actually didn't know this.
You haven't heard about this?
No.
So I want you to guess which famous actor they have, like, currently slated to play him in his biopic.
Wait, I'm actually really scared. Is it Miles Teller?
No.
Ryan Gosling?
No.
Am I close?
I mean, yeah. Think Avengers.
Chris Evans?
Yes.
Does Chris Evans dance?
I don't know. I guess he's gonna learn. So I literally was thinking, that was my first thought. This is, like, what I knew most recently is, like, okay, I know Chris Evans is gonna be playing him in this biopic. Literally, I'm like, Chris Evans is too heterosexual for this. Like,
that's so funny.
Gene Kelly, he's too charming.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Chris Evans is, like, I don't know, I guess he can put it on. I don't know. But, like, I was like, I don't know. This level of, like, Riz, as the kids say, is kind of insane. So I was thinking we maybe should figure out who should play him in a biopic. I have a person, because it's a tough one. Nobody really looks like him. It's not like so much. I was going more off of, like, the energy.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that too, where I was like, where did men go who look like Gene Kelly?
I think they died.
But, like, he's so, like, beautiful.
He's beautiful. Okay, wait. So who would you see playing him in a biopic?
Ooh, you go first so I can ponder.
Okay, it took me a minute to think about it because I was thinking maybe Andrew Garfield. He's got, like, the little singing dancing thing going on right now.
100%.
But then I decided ultimately on, because he's also, Gene Kelly has that smile.
Yeah.
It's so infectious. I decided on Tom Hiddleston.
I thought you were going to say Tom Hanks.
That'd be insane.
Tom Hiddleston.
Because listen, though, I know he can dance. To me, Tom Hiddleston is so charming, and there's something, like, gentlemanly about him, which his character in Singin' in the Rain is like gentlemanly.
Yeah.
And just like the dance, I know he can like he has rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he can sing. He's got a great voice, like a great vocal actor.
Yeah.
I feel like he'd bring a lot. I feel like he'd really channel the energy well.
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like Tom Hiddleston doesn't have that riz for me. He doesn't have the charisma.
Does anybody?
Yeah,
Does
that's
anybody?
so true. I don't know. I could see like maybe like Jonathan Groff.
Interesting.
Like something like that.
I
Like
can see that,
someone
it's
with a
like-
Broadway background who
I get
has that like Jonathan Groff has range in terms of like
Yeah.
he can be hot and sexy, but he can also be really charming.
And I don't know Broadway actors like that well, so I'm sure there's also like more.
Ooh, like
Lin-Manuel
Aaron Tveit.
Miranda?
Did you just say Lin-Manuel Miranda?
No.
You know what? Honestly, I
No,
like
Aaron
it.
Tveit is a good one. He's got a very charming.
Ooh, I could actually really see Aaron Tveit.
That poor man is probably so overbooked. Everyone's like him for everything.
But I love him.
I know. I mean, he's great looking.
He is. I think actually that's my vote. Aaron Tveit.
My vote is still Tom Hiddleston.
Okay, we can argue about.
Yeah, we can duel. Okay, wait, can I tell you something funny though?
Yeah.
So the beginning, right, is when they're announcing they're on the red carpet and they're
Yeah.
announcing the stars for Lena Lamont and Don
Mhm.
Lockwood's new picture.
Yeah.
And the first thing I thought of is because it's like the woman's announcing it. Like she's like, oh, and we've got this person coming down, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, they do this in Shrek too.
Shut up.
I'm so serious.
Wait, was Shrek 2 inspired though?
Probably. But because they got the fairy godmother voice. No, sorry. They've got like this host voiced by Joan Rivers. She's
so
like,
right.
it's Prince Charming.
I think Singing in the Rain predicted Shrek 2.
I
and
think
was
they had
inspired
to
by
have
Shrek
pulled it
2.
from it. But literally, I was like, oh my God, they do this in Shrek 2.
Who did it better?
Well, Shrek 2 is like funnier.
Honestly, though, I was gonna say.
No, I meant like that scene.
Yeah, that
No, Singing in the Rain is very funny.
It's really funny, and I
It's
feel
so
like
funny.
there's a lot of like Gen Z humor.
Yeah.
That maybe was intentional, maybe not. Of like when that girl's like, she's so dashing.
I think I'll kill myself. I was like, damn,
Or
she
when
gets
he's
it.
like, which is like kind of like in the context of how it was made, but when Gene Kelly's like, don't worry, lady, I won't molest you.
Yeah, so
It's
it just goes to
genuinely
show
funny.
it's the same problems time and time again.
Also, can we just talk? Shout out to Debbie Reynolds.
Dude, I wanted to talk about Debbie Reynolds. So obviously prior to this, I'd never seen it. I knew her as the grandmother in Halloween Town.
Yes,
as most people do.
yes.
And then I actually got emotional watching it because I was like, you know, everyone's obviously very familiar with like Carrie Fisher and Billy Lord and the legacy, the Hollywood dynasty of that family. And I was just got so emotional thinking about how Billy Lord gets to like watch her grandmother be so young and vivacious. And I just was like, gosh, I wish I had like that of my grandmother. Like I wish I could see my grandmother as like a young woman, you know, before she's like how I know her as like old.
That's so true. I was actually watching Singing in the Rain. I never watched it with my grandparents on my dad's side. I'm half Indian, half white for context. But it really reminded me of my grandparents from my dad's side just because it's like that era of America.
Yeah.
And just like white people being fabulous.
Yeah.
And it like
there sure are a lot of them in there.
Yeah, for sure. But like it made me emotional in the same way where I feel connected to Debbie Reynolds in that way of like,
yeah,
she's our grandmother.
She is. And you can tell like she has such a sweet like face.
So sweet.
Well, I was gonna say, so as I was watching the movie, I was like, okay, any scene with Gene Kelly, like your eye is going to Gene Kelly. He captivates every scene, like even when and Moses Supposes, when like they're dancing side by side, like, and I guess this too is because like he's the choreographer and like he's more a dancer than what's the other guy?
Donald O'Connor,
Sure.
I believe. Can we fact check that?
I feel so bad for this poor man.
But he's amazing.
He's so good in it. He's
Make
so
him
funny.
laugh is so good.
But I
It's
just
so
wish,
good.
yes, Donald O'Connor. Wow,
Yeah.
his name is Donald David Dixon Ronald O'Connor.
Okay, he has a crazy story.
What?
Can I cut you off real
Yeah.
quick? This poor man. So he is the OG Nepo baby, not actually, because
Okay.
his parents weren't successful, I don't think. But both of his parents were vaudevillians.
Uh-huh.
Like, they were very in the vaudeville scene. And Donald O'Connor gets into a car accident when he's very young with his sister. And his sister dies. He survives. But then a few months later, his dad dies of a heart attack.
Whoa.
And then 3 of his other siblings like died in childbirth or something. And then one of his brothers died from some other illness or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just him, his mom, and his older brother. And so the 3 of them decide to become a family act called, I think, the O'Connor family. Someone's got to fact check me on that.
I won't.
Okay, that's totally fine. And that's how he got his big break, was he and his mom and brother in this family act were in a couple of movies because they were touring around the country together doing some vaudeville act. And then they got picked up to be in a couple of movies, and then he got his own contract with MGM, I want to say.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense because I think Singin' in the Rain is MGM.
Yeah. So that's a crazy story.
Yeah.
So poor Donald O'Connor. And he was like, that trauma has stayed with me my whole life. Because of course it would. But
yeah. Anyway. He was really good. He was really good in it, yeah. But I would say, like, unfortunately, he's not the name people remember from that marquee, right? It's Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds.
I don't know, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, for me,
have you ever heard that? I've never heard that name anywhere else.
No, but he was the only one who was nominated for
an Academy Award.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
Anywho, okay. Yeah.
Actually, no, I think Lena
Lamont was, but he wasn't, but he won. He either was nominated or won the Golden Globe. Oh, and none of them were nominated.
Okay, we'll get to that because I do want to talk about that. So I was gonna say, so yeah, anytime Gene Kelly's on the screen, I mean, he just is like, he's so charismatic and like he's doing it. But then, as soon as Debbie Reynolds gets next to him, I mean, it's just like she's stealing that spotlight away from him. She is like so bright, and so adorable. I don't even know, like so talented that like I just like it's crazy to me that like I was like, oh, like this is Gene Kelly's film, like he's taking it, and then she got on the screen, and I was like, no.
Yeah, I completely
like it's
agree.
hers.
There's something so beautiful and innocent about her face, and I mean, she was only 19. Like that's actually crazy. And did you know she had never danced before?
I didn't. I would never have guessed.
Yeah,
because that choreography is insane.
No, it's crazy. Which, speaking of, which we can get into later more, but Good Morning, they filmed 40 times until her feet were bleeding, and then they used the first shot.
The first take?
Yeah, the first take. Isn't that crazy?
I would like mentally be unwell after that.
That choreography is so insane. Like the freaking couch.
It lasts so long.
Yeah, it's so long. The couches. That's
what I mean. Everybody's putting so much into it. You can tell like it's like this is another thing I had about like modern film. Like I guess I have not seen somebody like act that hard, I feel like, in a long time. Or maybe it's just even like I haven't seen like dancing in a film like that in a long time, where I'm like, whoa, they're like doing so much work.
Yeah.
Where I don't have that same feeling towards like, oh, they're doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like they're obviously like is good acting. But I'm like, nobody's putting in the hours like Debbie Reynolds did.
No, I completely agree. Like it is a masterpiece, and I feel like they knew they were making a masterpiece, and like how many people had to be involved, and just like I think also just the thoughtfulness in terms of like the costumes and the production design.
Oh my God.
I feel like that doesn't happen
No, and I was gonna say the sets. The physical sets. Like I'm like, why did we stop doing this?
I completely agree.
It feels like obviously real, and it just like I don't need to like I'm okay like knowing it's a set. It doesn't like alter my perception of the film. I don't need it to be like super realistic and like hyper CGI'd.
Oh my God. That's a whole other thing that we can get into, but I am not a fan of CGI, especially when it comes to stunts.
Well, especially when it's not necessary.
Yeah, I just wish that practical effects were used more often, because I honestly, like I saw Alien for the first time a couple weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And what is so brilliant about that movie is how real it feels, because
it's like
you can
in a
see
real set.
Everything is done real.
Even the Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like Jurassic Park. It's like the same thing.
And it just creates this, like, for Singing in the Rain, the sets, the costume. Ugh, just creates this whole
It's
perfect
it
vibe.
really is beautiful. And I was thinking, like, if this came out today, it would be nominated for Best Picture, undoubtedly.
100%.
And when it came out, it was nominated only for Best Supporting Actress for Lena Lamont, the actress for Lena Lamont, and Best Scoring of a Musical Picture. And it won neither.
What was nominated that year? Do we know?
What won? Let me see.
Yeah. Because I will say, Lena Lamont, that performance is amazing. But all of the performances are amazing. I
they
give
are.
them all Oscars.
Well, I also was just thinking, too, like, it made me really miss, like, when I see any movie made prior to, like, 1980, I'm just always, like, shocked at how did they edit? How did they do anything technologically? Like, I'm always so easily impressed because I'm like,
Yeah.
how the fuck did they do any of that?
Yeah. It's so cool, though. It's really cool to see, like, for example, this is a totally different movie, but I just saw Psycho recently.
Yeah.
And because they didn't have access to the technology we have now, they had to be more creative, which I think puts out a better movie. Like, there's this one sequence in Psycho where you see a man falling down the stairs. And so how they did that was they filmed a camera panning downstairs, and then they just filmed the man like flailing his arms separately and then put them together so it looked, because they didn't have green screens or anything like that. I'm like, that's brilliant. Like,
yeah.
it just required so much more creativity because you didn't have to rely so much on technology. And I wish that more people did that. More people use their
I
brains.
think it's crazy that, like, to me, it's not even drastically that different from stuff that's being made today, right? Like, there's been huge leaps in technology, but not huge leaps in, like, how it looks on screen, in my opinion. And I think that's a testament to, like, with AI and stuff coming out, that, like, it's not what's most important. It's like, what's most important is, like, the story and the characters and, like, the acting and et cetera, which isn't replicable as, like, you can just, like, paint a set or create it digitally. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, and I think that there was more creativity back then too, because it was such a new medium, and like, especially with like color, I think that they were so much more intentional with the use of color because that was a new feature in film. And so people were so excited to be intentional about it. Whereas now it feels like things are just a lot more muted because people don't care.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out who won the Best Picture Oscar, and 'cause I think it would have been 1953. But I think it's a two-note, I will say. In 1952, what won was An American in Paris, which is another Gene Kelly.
Okay, yeah. So it was the year after.
Yeah. Hold on.
Gene Kelly was hot off the presses
win.
for that one.
Best.
Which I've also never seen.
I've not seen that either. Winner. Okay. From Here to Eternity. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, never heard of it.
Irrelevant. Loser.
Irrelevant. But that's so interesting. That's always so interesting to me when movies or TV shows were not popularly received back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're so popular. And then the movies that were popular then we literally have not heard of.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a conversation about, like, does the Oscars always reflect what people are actually watching?
No.
Not always.
Not always.
Yeah.
Anywho.
I also wanted to say, at the very end when it reveals that it's Debbie Reynolds singing, I had no idea that was the origin of that trope. Because, like, I've seen that in The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
I was literally about to say that.
I was like, oh my god, like, this is what Ashley Tisdale does.
Yeah.
When London can't sing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god.
Oh, that's so beautiful when she gets so mad at him and then curtains are revealed and then she runs off
She's
and like
crying.
2 tears.
So beautiful.
She's so, oh my god. Also,
is she a manic pixie dream girl?
No. I think no, because at the very beginning she's very like much her own person.
She is, and she's all like sassy, and she's like, I want to be an actress. I'm in a cake now.
Yeah, I've watched one, I've watched them all.
Yeah. Hey, who are you?
Yeah, I love her. I love both the women in there. I think it like teaches you. It taught me as a young fry that I could be a comedic lead if I wanted to as a woman, but I could also be the strong female lead
Yes.
who don't need no man. But also a man's not bad sometimes.
I would argue in terms of the movie, she kind of needed a man. He like hooked her the fuck up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But she was also really talented.
Yeah.
Can I also say, this is such a sidetrack. I don't even know if I'll want to include this. But I haven't watched this movie in love before.
My God.
And so I was like weeping.
Okay, we get it.
Like this scene where they're in the empty lot and he's singing to her.
Yeah, like you were meant for me.
Is so beautiful.
Okay, can I say though, it did kind of come very quickly.
It did.
I think,
but
like that song was added like last minute.
Yeah, but it didn't feel too abrupt.
It was very sweet
because he like was really drawn in on her,
and it was so simple. Think about what I mean. They were just standing there.
Yeah,
it was not like something's gonna happen.
Yeah,
it's like they're just acting.
So beautiful. I was crying a lot too, just about like I was weepy the whole time, but like about like I feel like when I was a kid, again because my parents were like, we're not going to let you professionally act until you're through high school. I was, as a kid, always just dreaming of the day that I could actually pursue what I wanted to.
Aww.
And so then I was watching it. I was like, oh my God, like
look at
here
you now
I am
trying to do it.
And it sucks and I hate it.
But just for right now.
That's true.
Ideally.
But I feel like this movie definitely romanticizes Hollywood and romanticizes and makes it seem like pretty easy to make it big or to have some success in the industry.
Honey, just find yourself a celebrity boyfriend.
Bro.
Honestly, not a bad piece of advice. If you can secure one of those, you might be okay.
Yeah. So, anywho, it was definitely very special to watch in this time of my life, and I hope that I watch it one day when I'm Gene Kelly
back and be like, it'll be a good like touchstone for you throughout the years.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I really liked it.
It's a
really good movie.
It's so good.
Yeah. And I was definitely like, before you watch a movie, you're always kind of like, it's overrated. Or like, what are they talking about? It's really good.
They don't make them like that anymore.
They don't make them like they used to.
No.
Pasta. Well, to such joys, should we pivot to like the most tragic movie ever?
You know what's really funny about Romeo and Juliet?
What's so funny about Romeo and Juliet?
So I was watching it, right? I was having a really fun time.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is really sweet. They're so in love.
Yeah.
And then it got to the sad part. And obviously, I've seen Romeo and Juliet a bajillion times.
Yeah.
But I was like, damn, this is a tragedy. Like, I forgot.
It still surprised you.
Yeah, I was like, which I guess is a testament to how good the movie is.
Yeah.
How fresh it felt.
Yeah, so to clarify, this is the version that like everyone was definitely forced to watch in high school and probably hated because of that fact. But I first watched this movie when I was in the 4th grade. My older sister at the time was in 6th grade, and her like class was putting on a play of Romeo and Juliet. And my mom was like, "Oh, like we're gonna like educate ourselves and like we're gonna watch it, like 'cause that's the version she knew." And so we watched it, and I understood none of it, but I like just I was a big like romance kid. Like I was obsessed with like true love and like excessive love, essentially. So even though I didn't understand anything, I was like instantly like, yeah, this is it. So I went out and started reading Shakespeare, but like, like a translated like copy so that I could understand it better. So I felt also very like cool because I was like in 4th grade, like reading Romeo and Juliet. And I got like weird about it. I like had it memorized. I still have like half the movie memorized, like the actual Shakespeare. And like just obsessed. I had made a scrapbook. Like just every day I would just like print off thousands of pictures of especially like the two, like the Romeo and Juliet, and just like glue them into a notebook.
Yeah.
That's what I did. And then every time I rewatch it, it's just like that same feeling of like nostalgia and just like love. And yeah.
Yeah. It's really beautiful. My own background, I was telling you just the other day, I always acted, but I started off acting in Shakespeare productions. So I'm quite the Shakespeare kid nerd. And I watched this version probably when I was like 10 or 11, but like I haven't watched it since, so it felt like I was watching it for the first time. And it was just really like I really honestly hate when people try to do Shakespeare in different decades. I think it's stupid.
Yes.
And so it was really nice to just watch like Shakespeare as it's like meant to be.
I agree with you, which is why a lot of people say, like, a lot of people really like the Baz Luhrmann 1996 version with Leo DiCaprio, and I've never seen it, and I kind of refuse to. Because, like, I mean, I know all about it, like, enough where it's like I can justify me not watching it because, like, obviously it's the same story. But I really appreciate the setting of it. I appreciate that, like, I mean, it's like the youngest, like, they tried to cast as closest to the actual ages as possible with the two main actors, and I'm obsessed with the actors. Like, Leonard Whiting is Romeo and Olivia Hussey is Juliet, and like I wrote them fan letters. Like, I was obsessed with them. They're two of the most gorgeous people I think I've ever seen on film. Like, I think she's the most beautiful person in the entire world.
She's so beautiful.
Isn't she stunning?
She, like, you can't take your eyes off of her.
That scene when she, like, closes her eyes when he grabs her hand.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom and I love that scene. Yeah. But so, like, he also, like, when he walked up and he looks, he's got, like, Zac Efron's High School Musical 3 haircut.
Okay.
I was like, I'm there.
Can I just say, so my entire childhood, I was like, this is Zac Efron. But now, I think he is the child of Zac Efron and Noah Schnapp from Stranger Things.
Okay. I kind of see
really
it.
see it.
I see it a little bit.
I really see it.
Because he doesn't look exactly like Zac Efron.
Yeah.
He just has a very similar haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah. They did briefly date the two leads.
Did they really?
Yeah.
When?
Right after the movie. So her memoir is actually right behind Miraya there, which I obviously read immediately. And she said, like, they kind of both felt like they had to, like, just like it was kind of expected of them, but like they were always just meant to be friends, and which kind of broke my heart because obviously, like, I would love a world in which they're together, but I get it. But you can tell when you're watching it, like, how obsessed with her he was. Can't you? I mean, I just feel like he's, like, not acting. He's, like, he's in it too much.
It's so sweet,
It's so sweet.
It's so sweet. And I think it is really sweet, like, how young they are.
Yeah.
Of, like, it is that juvenile love.
Like, so she's 15, turned 16 while filming, and he's 16, turned 17 while filming.
So young.
The caliber of the actors. They both won Golden Globes for Most Promising Newcomer.
Oh.
But, like, the talent.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I can't think of another case where, like, two, like, such young people, actors, are so good. I mean, doing Shakespeare nonetheless.
But, like, I feel like actors that age aren't given opportunities like that often.
Yeah, very fair.
Like, I feel like it's just like you're gonna be on Disney Channel.
Yeah, they're not given that level. I mean, Shakespeare's not really in fashion right now to do like like even not even adaptations, but like to do like the actual thing.
Yeah, and also with just like rights and school, like obviously so many actors who are older than 18 are cast to play high school parts just because
that's what's
laws
around.
And things, and makes it easier to bypass school.
So I loved Mistletoe is smelling the tripod. Please don't knock it over. She's a little troublemaker.
Just like,
if it starts wobbling.
What smells good about it? I must know.
Yeah.
And Mittens is currently in the camera bag, or the lighting bag again.
Gorgeous. So this watch around, I had way more appreciation for the supporting cast.
Ooh. When's the last time you saw it?
So every time sometimes I'll just kind of rewatch my favorite scenes. All the way through, though, not for a while, probably. I will say, though, I actually didn't finish it because once it starts getting, like, tragic, I can't watch it.
Like, why?
It, like, upsets me too much.
Aww.
I'm always like, no, but, like, if he had just sent the letter earlier or something, like, it just upsets me too much.
The part that fucked me up was when you see the freaky mule donkey thing.
He's walking so slow and Romeo's riding past him.
No.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, you idiot. Look what you've done.
Yeah.
No, I just get so they do such a good job. I'm like, no, like they're in love.
When she wakes up and then she sees him, oh my God, it's heartbreaking.
Guys, it was bad for me in high school because when they showed this in class, I was literally like, oh yeah, we have to watch this one, right? And we have to watch this clip, and we have to Olivia Hussey and Leonard Whiting. Literally, the teacher was like, you know so much more than me. Like, I'm like, yeah.
Me with National Treasure when my class took a trip to DC. Anywho.
So I really, really loved in this, like, Mercutio.
Yeah.
I think I love the actor for him.
Yeah, he's
like,
great.
He plays it so well and so goofy.
Yeah. Can I just say, this version of Romeo and Juliet is cunty. It is the hats.
The hats, the tights.
The tights.
Yeah.
Just, there are a lot of homoerotic moments in this production.
Super
like,
gay.
That little boy.
The director's gay.
That is true. Yeah. But like the little boy who like takes Romeo's hand and like puts it to his cheek.
Mm-hmm.
Cunty. Anywho,
I was gonna say, so I loved Mercutio. I also love Lady Capulet.
Yeah.
She's so bitchy.
Yeah.
But like in such a way that's like almost sad, because it's like, oh look, this is like what happens to women like when they're forced into these, like, you know, later on she becomes like, you know, bitter and sad. That's the brain she wears. Remember, like at the party, she got that weird headpiece on. Like, what
Tybalt's
was that?
hat is my favorite
Tybalt.
thing
Have
ever.
you seen Austin Powers?
Okay,
that actor is Basil.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was talking to my roommate about this morning.
Yeah.
I need to rewatch Austin Powers. Hey,
leave a comment.
No one comments.
Paris. I want to briefly talk about Paris.
Yes, please.
Because they casted him perfectly too, in my opinion, with that fuck ass bob. Literally, I was like he's not bad looking. Like, he's not like an ugly guy, especially not like whatever for the time period, like an arranged marriage situation. But he's so creepy looking and kind of like just so much clearly older that it was so effective in like painting, like she's like, ew, like you're like an old dude.
Yeah, when he gives her like the kiss on the forehead.
Yeah, the way they kiss, or maybe the sound effects, is all kind of weird.
Yeah, I love the sound effects. They're so dramatic. Like when Romeo like takes the fucking like thing and like the stone and smashes it into like the tomb door.
Yeah, it's very like 1960s sound effects.
Bro, the tomb was scary.
Right? It's creepy. I mean, it's meant to be.
It's so
it's a
creepy. Tomb. Yeah, but like I guess I'm only comparing it to the Baz Luhrmann version, but there's no dead bodies decomposing.
Yeah. So also this version is the like highest, like it made the most money. It's the most like awarded version of Romeo and Juliet. Like there were like TV movies made and like filmed stage recordings. But it made like considerable money, and like it was nominated for Academy Awards.
That's crazy.
So it's definitely like one of the best performing Shakespeare movies.
Yeah.
I can't think like of another one, even though like even like Hamlet or like Othello of that has the same, like, I mean, this is shown to nearly every child in America, and I'm sure it's huge in Italy because the director's Italian.
Was Romeo and Juliet, like, I feel like that's the staple Shakespeare play that everyone knows and loves, whether or not you know Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Was that always the case, or did this movie like kind of catapult it into being that?
This movie definitely did, because Romeo and Juliet also, like, and I would say still probably in terms of like a scholarly way, it wasn't as respected as like the big ones like Hamlet, Macbeth, Othello, Henry VIII. Like those ones were about like those are more popular in theater and stuff because like I think they view it as like a higher form of Shakespeare.
Yeah.
So this is a good one for like, that's why it never had as many, like it was always performed, but it just didn't have the same level as of prestige, I would say. But then this movie made it more popular, and I think it's because it also paired like, okay, there's romance, but then there's sword fighting, but then there's princes. It's kind of those are the two things. Guys, this movie has it all.
The Mercutio Tybalt Romeo duel,
yes,
is crazy.
What a duel!
Movie. That's always
duel.
the question.
It's a great like scene. It's great stage fighting.
Yeah, and I guess whenever you're making an adaptation of a play into a movie, you want to ask yourself, like, what can we do that, like, makes this more cinematic than just a play, a stage play? And I feel like that was one of, like, the big moments of that where you can really, like, see this duel and it can be, like, 10 minutes long. And but then there's also, like, the intimacy of, like, you're really there when it is like the smaller moments too, because you're just in their faces. Although I will say I love that shot of right after the balcony scene when it's just like super wide and they're like,
is it their hands like going away?
Going
so
away.
Dramatic.
And then she like blows him a kiss and then he blows her a kiss, and
I'm
it's
like they're so in love.
It is also interesting though because West Side Story came out before this version of Romeo and
Juliet.
Juliet.
So above your head I have a vintage poster of released around the time of its release. At the top of it is a quote from Playboy magazine of a review of the movie. It says, like, a beautiful Renaissance recapitulation of West Side Story. Which is maybe
so
the
funny.
dumbest quote I've ever heard, because literally, like, West Side Story is an adaptation of Romeo and Juliet.
So
how can this be an adaptation of West Side Story? Like, what?
Yeah.
Why did they put that quote on the poster?
But I do love that of
also,
like
Playboy.
Yeah.
Are they doing
like
film reviews?
I mean, that is also interesting. Playboy.
Like what?
Reviewing. Oh, you got to fix our little slushy man.
Our mascots.
For those who
are listening, we have a little popcorn and a little icy. Maybe slushy, I should say, so we don't get, I don't know. Is there some, can I get, I don't know, copyrighted somehow? A popcorn and a slushy.
I see if you're listening. Please give us money.
Yeah, sponsor us.
Sponsor us, Icy.
Yeah, AMC.
Oh.
Anyway.
Yeah,
so West Side Story had just come out 5 years prior.
Yeah, and so that's
hugely
really
successful.
Yeah, because that also brought...
This was the era of, like, Romeo and Juliet was very popular.
Yeah.
This story. And I actually wrote about this because, like, I had a note about this because the only adaptations we've had of Romeo and Juliet, right, or like directly, I wouldn't, because I can't think of any like West Side Story-ish besides the reboot of West Side Story. But like they did a Romeo and Juliet similar to this one that was released in 2014 with Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
It's not good.
Okay.
When I think part of that is because, like, once you have this version, what is the point for other versions of that are just like this?
Yeah, I was
unless you're
gonna say,
doing something different and original, like what Baz Luhrmann was trying to do, where he was like, okay, let me make it modern with guns and like with gangs, right? Yeah, but like they're still talking like they're in Shakespeare times.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is like the purest version of Romeo and Juliet. You can't get any better than that. Like with the performances, they're British, which sure does help somehow.
She's I think half Argentinian.
I saw that. That's really cool. Also, I saw that she was just a theater actress and she didn't have any manager or agent.
No.
And she was just
back then they did, I think, like more open, it was like probably like an open call audition.
Yeah. But it does make me think about the quote. My mom tells me this a lot whenever I'm like, I should have been successful like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why can't I make money doing the thing that I love? And she's like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Because Olivia Hussey, is that how you pronounce her last name? Olivia Hussey, like, had this giant break and was like the most famous teenager in the entire world. And then basically had a very small career afterwards.
So yeah, she was in another work of Zeffirelli's, though. She was in Jesus of Nazareth.
Right.
She played Mary. She also was in Black Christmas. Have you ever seen that? I haven't seen it, but I want to see it. It's now become like a cult classic, but it did not do well at the time. It's like a horror film. It's called Black Christmas. She's in it. And I think it's getting more like, it's like definitely got cult status now where people like it and respect it. And then she also was in the It TV series. Like The Clown.
Oh.
So it was a TV series before it was a movie in the 90s. And she played a character in there. So like definitely though not the level of success you'd expect.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of that's due to personal
Yeah.
decisions, personal reasons, reasons outside of her control. Same with him. He did not really go on to do anything either. He did a Frankenstein movie. He played like Dr. Frankenstein. And
It's
then
just interesting how that goes.
I know, like to burn so brightly and then kind of immediately fizzle.
But I feel like I did see that she was not a fan of the level of fame that she had too. And so she purposely
she's agoraphobic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she purposely, and which came from the level of fame. So she purposely chose to do smaller parts or more indie films. So
her daughter's an actress.
Really? What's her name?
Her name is India.
Okay.
India Isley. And she kind of looks like her. She's gorgeous, obviously. And she was in most recently this thing with Chris Pine, this like crime series that I actually watched.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Her legacy lives on.
It was filmed in Cinecittà.
Cinecittà.
Okay. Sure. Spaghetti.
There's actually a section in her memoir where she talks about filming there. Yeah, we got to tour the lot.
We're like so annoying. We're like we study abroad.
I know, right? It's all we could talk about. Well, we met there, had a very formative experience.
Yeah, and it's relevant.
It is relevant. So yeah, we've been to the studio lot that this movie was filmed at, along with many other movies, obviously.
Yeah, and
I wish I don't think I knew that when I went.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Which I should have because it had come out already. Anyway. But I wish I had. I would have respected it more.
Yeah. But anywho, I guess we can move on.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about controversies.
Yeah. I think we definitely can't talk about Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, totally.
Without talking about what we now know.
Yeah, so if you've seen it, obviously you've seen there's nudity. Mm-hmm. You see Olivia Hussey's bosom.
And you see his buttocks. Yeah.
And so at the time, obviously, they were 15 and 16 or 16 and 17, regardless.
Well, yeah. I think that what was interesting about watching both of these movies, Singin' in the Rain and Romeo and Juliet, is they pose a question.
Yes.
About just the correlation between abuse and Hollywood and just the making of art and it being a painful process and why that has to be.
There seems to be this lingering idea in Hollywood, going back to its genesis, that any means are justified if the end is art or money.
Yeah.
And I feel like especially back then, that any director was seen as passionate or a perfectionist or eccentric or like an auteur if he was just like a fucking dick.
Yeah.
And like abusive and rude to his cast.
Yeah. And so the specific context, I guess we should say, is that in 2023, both Olivia Hussey and what's Romeo's name?
Leonard Whiting.
Sued Paramount for child abuse.
Yeah.
Because they claimed that they were not aware that they were going to be nude in one of the scenes of the movie and that it was going to be shown and filmed. And they claimed that Franco Zeffirelli assured them, first off, that they weren't even going to be nude, but then day of when they were filming, that the camera would not see any body parts.
Yeah, and also part of their lawsuit is like for distributing child pornography.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because they were...
Back in like when it was released, she wasn't allowed to see it.
Yeah,
like her
that's
own movie.
Crazy.
Because like, I mean, obviously she did, but I'm saying like she wouldn't have been allowed to see her own breasts on screen due to her age.
And she didn't know until it premiered and freaking royalty was in the theater watching her 15-year-old boobs on screen, which is really messed up.
There have been other accusations unrelated to the filming of Romeo and Juliet with Franco Zeffirelli. Yeah. So it seems like on the whole, not a good guy.
Yeah, I mean, one of them was from the actor who played Benvolio.
Yes.
Said that he sexually assaulted him on the set of Romeo and Juliet. Which goes into the whole other thing of, can you separate the art from the artist? Which I say no, because clearly if he wasn't a freaking creep, none of this would have happened, which affected the movie. Anywho, that's a whole other conversation. But we just felt like we couldn't talk about the movie without pointing that out, because it's obviously a huge part of the history of the movie.
And topical, because the lawsuit was January 2023.
Yeah, 100%. And that just goes into, with me doing research for this podcast about Singing in the Rain, Gene Kelly was a total dickwad to Debbie Reynolds, who had never danced before. So he was incredibly mean and rude to her. And as I think we spoke about before, Debbie Reynolds' feet bled while they were filming Good Morning, because they did it 40 times. And Donald O'Connor had to go to the hospital for a week after filming Make 'Em Laugh.
I didn't know that.
Because of one of the stunts where he like climbs on the wall and like does all those flips, because he was like a heavy smoker. So his lungs couldn't handle it.
Jesus.
Like, it's just all of this crazy stuff. And it's like, why? For entertainment. Yeah. Like, it's just so crazy. For money. But like, at the end of the day, it was for him, like, filming Make 'Em Laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so crazy. And I feel like one of my main goals of being an artist and being someone in the industry is I still feel like there's a lot of change that needs to happen.
Yeah.
And obviously we just came out of the Me Too movement, but I still think that people are dicks all the time.
No, it's not. It's still not. They're still protected.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that there needs to be a whole change in the way we handle diversity in so many aspects.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What are your thoughts?
I agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks. It really sucks.
It really sucks.
It really sucks because it's just like, I hate, which is like, okay, this is a very like self-involved perspective, but I just hate that, like, you know, it's a tainted memory almost, that it's like every time I watch it, I'm like, well, goddamn, now I have this in the back of my head, like, you know, because I obviously, when I watched this movie, I was like 9. Yeah. And so, you know, I wasn't aware of anything.
Yeah. Even watching Sing in the Rain, I watched it last night. I feel like I was looking at Gene Kelly differently, where like he clearly has a lot of charisma and is very charming. But then I was kind of looking at it with this angle of like, ooh, like this is kind of like that scene where they're in the car together and he's like putting his arm over her.
Yeah, he's I was like making a move.
Yeah, something. Like this makes me feel kind of uncomfortable. Yeah. But I guess that's just the reality of like what it is.
And I think the thing too is that like at the time, you know, Debbie Reynolds and Olivia Hussey, like they couldn't speak out about any of that. You know? Yeah. And even you can tell, I mean, just from what we know about the time period, especially with like the Debbie Reynolds stuff, that like she's not the important person in that movie to them. Like she is so indispensable. Like she's so dispensable. I want to say not indispensable.
Yeah.
We're like, they're gonna protect Gene Kelly at all costs.
Yeah. And that's another thing about like going to Romeo and Juliet. Mm-hmm. The nudity was not necessary at all.
It was not.
It was literally like 5 seconds in total.
It was. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out like what could have been especially since like at least for her, like what was the thought process behind showing that?
Yeah, it's so
because it's so fast.
Yeah,
like at that point, if you're gonna do it, linger on it, baby.
It's so weird. It's just weird.
It was not necessary. Totally,
it was not necessary, and I think that making art in a way that's abusive is never necessary. Yeah, and I don't know why it's so normalized.
Like, if you're gonna try to push the edge and be like, well, I'm gonna put nudity in my Shakespeare film, why don't you talk to them about it? Why don't you get their permission? Why don't you make them feel comfortable and like a part of the decision, and not just like it's objectifying. That's what it is. It's treating actors like props.
Right. But at the same time, there was no way for them to really consent to it because they were under 18. Exactly. And because of the power dynamics at play. It's just a mess of a situation. Yeah. Which shouldn't have happened. And I think that there's a lot of darkness in the history of Hollywood. And
Yeah.
as we talk about a ton of movies, I'm sure this is not going to be the last time that controversies
We're gonna get
come up.
darker.
Yeah. So we just wanted to talk about that
Yeah.
and make it clear that we believe all those involved.
We
and
do.
that
at the end of my days, Leonard Whiting and Olivia Hussey have my support in a way arguably nobody else does.
yeah.
Like, they will not meet another young whippersnapper who's as obsessed with them as I am.
Yeah. And
I love them.
Can I say something really controversial that might hurt your feelings?
Okay.
I think that anyone at the end of the day could have done what Zeffirelli did.
My feelings are not hurt.
Okay.
He's like the least interesting part of that movie.
Exactly.
The direction, it's like the setting, the setting is beautiful.
Yeah.
The acting is amazing.
Yeah.
The words are not his.
Like, the actors who played Romeo and Juliet, like, they were incredible. And so this creepy old man shouldn't affect, like, their legacy of being incredible actors who did an amazing performance.
Yeah.
So, mic drop.
Mic drop. No, I fully agree. He's like, I could care less. I don't feel his presence at all through the direction. You know what I mean? It's so their film.
Yeah, 100%.
You know.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We thought that we would end every podcast with just talking about our journeys and what we want to do this next week. Because
sort of check in.
Yeah, sort of check in, and also talking about like
our goals for the year.
Yeah, because I am a huge believer in like just telling people things you want to do and having people hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Because I will not do things otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, like, what better way to hold myself accountable than to put it on a freaking podcast?
Just put it on Spotify, baby.
Yeah, because that's really embarrassing if I'm like, I'm going to do this thing. And then I'm just like, hey, I didn't do that thing.
As you all know, it is obviously the new year.
Yeah.
It's 2024.
That's really freaky to say, honestly.
I don't want to talk about
that. Really scares me. Although I've always said that 24 is my second favorite number, so maybe it'll be a really good year for us.
Good. I like the optimism you have there.
Thank you so much.
My goals for 2024 were centering around my career. I actually did this the other day, so this is a perfect time to I'm happy. It's very topical.
I love
in my head. I'm currently working on 2 things that I want to have finished by my 25th birthday, which is going to be in April.
Okay.
I'm working on a book. It's called Girl Rotting.
Hell yeah.
And it's just kind of like a diary format, like kind of funny, but like about like
me
becoming becoming a woman and what that means and like the emotional journeys of that.
I love that.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. And then I'm also working on I want to have this one script finished. It's called Edgar Love. It's kind of like a fake documentary style movie about this fictional musician named Edgar Love. And like how much the fame has impacted his life and just like seeing how little this man like belongs to himself. It's just kind of like my ruminations on like how someone like Harry Styles would like adjust to that level of fame.
Yeah.
So I want to finish both of those. And then I would love to find representation.
Yes.
And that's the extent that I've mapped that out. I don't know.
Yeah.
How else? But I also would like to switch jobs from my current job to a different job. And I think that would aid in that third goal about representation. So
I love that.
Yeah.
You got this.
Thank you.
We're manifesting.
We are. Well, I can definitely finish my work.
Yeah.
That's always been like my one philosophy sort of is like, okay, I have very little control in this industry, but what I can control is like the volume of work I am producing, which is why I feel like I've been able to harness that and be so efficient. Like I've written a couple of things so that when the day comes, what's that quote about like opportunity? No. What is it? Like opportunities is when like preparation and like luck meet or something.
Ooh, I know what you're talking about.
Hard work and preparation. No, opportunities is when hard work. What is it?
I don't know.
It's that quote. And that's what I'm going to do.
I love that.
So when the time comes, I'll be like, here you go. And then it's going to be like, boom.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
What are your goals?
I have been trying really hard the past couple of years to like rebuild confidence just within myself as an actor, because I feel like COVID kind of threw me for a loop and a lot changed in my life. And so I kind of like, it was the longest period of time that I hadn't been acting on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of felt like Bambi with like my little legs. Like I was like, how do I stand up straight?
Like a newborn giraffe.
Yeah, exactly. And so this year I kind of made some strides in that, but I feel like I really just focused on writing. And so I'd love to be able to really get a go at my acting career, and I need to get new headshots, and I would love to get an agent. That would be really amazing.
Which I think the route is actually to go manager first.
Yeah. Honestly, just anyone.
Anyone, yeah. But I think manager,
I don't know if I have a choice in that.
More approachable.
Yeah.
Agents tend to want people who are like on their way up already.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily want to help foster anything. And I know I work at an agency, so I do interact with a lot of agents.
For sure.
And they typically want people who are like already getting attention and they can scoop them up.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a real catch-22 of like,
yeah,
how
you have to get noticed to get an agent, but then how do you get noticed if you don't have an agent?
Exactly. So getting representation would be great.
Yes.
And I have a short film that I'm hoping to get produced.
Exciting.
Heck yeah. And then my mom wrote a play about our family that I'm hoping to direct. And so we've been applying to a
family
bunch
affair.
A family affair. Call me a Nepo baby. Not actually though, please.
We are not Nepo babies.
We're not Nepo babies.
We're two of the least connected people you'll ever meet in your life.
Please. We wish.
Yeah.
That being said, we are very privileged and we're very thankful
for
that. We did go to NYU.
We have nepotism in terms of finances.
Yeah, that's true. But we also still have to work to pay rent ourselves.
We do.
So that's very different from some people that we know.
Yeah.
Anywho, that's a whole other thing.
We're not like New York privileged.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, by that I mean, you know what I mean? Like, obviously you're from New York. I don't mean that. I mean like,
no, yeah, I know what you mean though.
How people here are just like have billions of dollars.
Yeah, but there are a ton of people that we know who literally don't work, who just spend all day, every day auditioning or writing or doing whatever because their parents support them.
Exactly, yes.
Which, good for them.
Good for them.
That's not us.
Not us.
Anywho, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I would love to be able to direct that play and get it put up somewhere. So those are my goals.
Those are good goals.
I would love to write another feature. That would be fun. How about, what's something that you want to get done by next week's episode?
It's tricky because writers, like, oftentimes, like, I don't have, like, a set thing to do. It's just kind of like, well, I want to write. You know, I need to work on it. I would say I'd like to have... I'm editing another book right now, and it's just like really tricky, and the structure's giving me problems, and so I'd like to have that structure nailed down.
I love that.
I would like to have that because it's a little thorn in my side.
Amazing.
Yeah. What about you?
I would like to submit on Actors Access every day because I feel like I've fallen into a bad habit where I like forget.
This is an auditioning.
Yes.
What is Actors Access?
So Actors Access is a place where people post job listings for actors. And so you submit your headshot, your reel, that sort of thing, so that casting directors can take a look and see if they want to have you audition or call back or whatever, what have you. But yeah, it's just a good habit to do it every day. It literally takes like 5 to 10 minutes just clicking through all the postings.
Yes.
Submitting yourself.
And
so,
it's usually like, you know, it's never, to quote Lady Gaga, just has to be one person in a room.
Yeah.
Who believes in you or something, whatever she said.
That's how we should end every episode. To quote Lady Gaga. It's only
I want your love. I want your bad romance.
Anywho, well, thank you so much for joining me, Lela.
On our podcast?
Thanks for being here.
You're so welcome. Thanks for being in my house.
Anytime. Literally anytime.
Thank you to all the listeners for tuning in.
Ooh. Next week, we are going to be talking about one of my favorite movies, When Harry Met Sally, which Layla has not seen.
I've not seen.
So if anyone wants to watch it, give it a rewatch, refresh your memory, what have you, please do.
And we'll also be discussing Nora Ephron.
Yeah.
And her journey.
Yeah. So we hope to see you there.
Yeah. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching, to the viewers.
This is so exciting. We did our first podcast episode.
Because we're women.
Yep. That's what women do.
We're Manic Pixie Dream women.
Peace out.
Theme song insert here.